Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Alright, so we're going to get started here on the Coinbase chart, and I'm actually on the 4-hour right now, just to get like a little bit of a zoomed in view. Not a ton has changed. We've essentially just been consolidating after that big move. We came down here, and let me turn on the fibs real quick. We basically made it down just like we had talked to, exactly to the 786. We dropped down, got a little pop up, and then came down and retested it. And now if you look, the fib circle goes from the top of this move at 14,000 down to the 7,200 range, and you'll see where that's coming in is essentially right here where we're consolidating. So we got our move down, and we were talking about this ahead of time. We were expecting the break to come down here off of the 786 and the fib circle. We figured we would get a strong reaction. So we're consolidating here. We're just getting walked up basically by this fib circle right now. And if you at this point in time, what it looks like is going to happen is it looks like we're going to get the pop back up and test into all these right here, which is our different fib levels. It'll be the 618 off the white right here. It'll be the 0.5 off the green fib right there. And then it'll essentially be this long time diagonal trend line that's been our support through this whole bull run. And then also we'd be testing into the support and resistance that we broke down from. So at this point in time, I would expect us to break right through that and essentially test up back to the point of at least the breakdown, which is going to be around the 8,500, give or take a little bit. But we could get up here a little bit higher depending on which moving averages we interact with. So essentially we're getting held down right now by the 10 EMA. If we can break above that on the 4-hour, I think we'll immediately come up and test the 21, which is going to put us at the 82.25 level. And then I think more likely what's going to happen is if we break up here, we're going to get like the 8,400 range, because we're going to come up and we're going to test into the 50 and the 55 area right here. That'll flip the parabolic SAR as soon as we take out the 82.92 is where it's currently sitting at. So as soon as we take that out, and we could potentially come all the way back up here and retest the 200s at like 8,700. I don't think that would be unrealistic. And currently we have the 200 exponential and the 200 simple coming in at literally the exact same spot. So for us to come up here and test that area, it would basically just be 8,700. Now flipping over to the daily, a little bit more of a longer time frame so we can get a better idea what's going on. We did get the simple golden cross on the 55 and 200 back here, and now we're preparing now. We had averted the golden cross here, or I'm sorry, death cross rather. We had averted the death cross here between the 50 exponential and the 200 exponential here. We shot up, consolidated in between it, and then moved to the top. And then when we consolidated back, we found support now on the 200, and then when we dumped back down through that, we tested back up and couldn't get above it. So now when we got that massive sell-off, we came down to the 377, which again came into line perfectly with the confluence of the 786 and the fib circle, which again, we did say that ahead of time. If you go back and look at our last couple videos, that's exact move we were expecting was down to here, okay? And we had already based off the 377 1, 2, 3, 4 times, broke through it and came down to the 528, which is something I personally use. I've never seen anyone else use it. I do have a video on why I use it, or I'd be glad to explain that to you, but you'll see it corresponds all the time, even on the longer time frames. And then we got the massive move up, it sold off, came down, we based off the 377 like I was saying. So what I would expect to happen now is base off the 377, pop up and test the breakdown, base off 377, pop up and test. So now I would expect us to now, again, base off, got rejected, came down, and then went up to the 200 again. So what I would expect to happen is we're going to hit these 200s. So I think we're going to come at least back up to the 86.62 range. And then we can potentially get like a real move from there. And again, that's essentially just going to be us trying to get above the 200 to stop the death cross from happening. But here, the death cross is going to happen regardless, because the 50 is going to be accelerating to the downside much faster than the 200 is going to be, because the price is under here. So essentially, we're going to get that death cross now unless we get a massive move up like this. So usually what happens is the bulls will try to step in, the algos will try to step in, push the price back up, and then when it fails, or assuming it fails, we'll get the sell back off, and then we're more realistic to come back down here. And then that's what I was saying about by the time this happens, if this happens over the next like few days or week or whatever, by the time that happens, we'd be coming down here to the range that I really want to see. Because if we could come down here in between like the 886, rebase off of this 528, and then also that's going to put us in with the 618 of this massive move. That to me, that looks like a very good potential point for us to put in a higher low off of this point and then get a swing back up, break out of this pattern here, break above that downward sloping resistance line, and then we can get above this upward sloping, our old support line, and then we can essentially start taking out these highs and moving to the higher prices. Now again, that's just what I think is going to happen, but that's just because I'm overall bullish on the longer time frames for Bitcoin in the future. If we flip over to like the weekly, I want to turn a little bit of this off. You can see in the weekly we're technically still in an uptrend. But for me, once this 10 and 21 cross over negative, that's when you start really questioning it. Because you'll see this whole way through here, we'll test down, but we never get the negative cross. And then once we get the negative cross between the 10 and 21, which usually on the weekly will correspond with the death cross between the 50 and 200. But usually once we get that cross here, officially, we come back up, try to defend it one more time, and then we get the sell-off, try to get above it one more time, get the sell-off, we never make it above, and then capitulate. And now look what's happening here. We're starting to get the cross right here. We shot above it, stopped the cross from happening, sell back off, and now we're exactly at that 50. So I would expect us to find support here and then essentially just try to bounce back up. And then, we technically already have kind of crossed right there. It's right on the edge essentially. But if we bounce back up, try to defend this one last time, and then we can get the sell-off, we come back down to either the 89 or the 55 simple, or worst case scenario, we really get the big boy test down here to like the 5,000 range, and we test these 200s, and really see on a weekly, are we going to stay in? Are we going to stay in a bull market, or are we going to head into an actual bear market after basically 10 years of upward movement? Essentially, are we going to break the pattern? Because normally what will happen here, we'll get a bull run, we'll consolidate, sell off, find support, we'll get a bull run, and then we'll eventually take out the all-time high. But if we sold back off here and got a lower low, I think that would be like a change in pattern for Bitcoin. But again, it's only a 10-year asset, and you're talking about multiple year time frames. So it's hard to just sit here and use like 2 or 3 instances and say, oh, this is what should happen, because it happens every time. But now again, looking at the weekly here and looking at the oscillator, let's flip this up. The TJD Jewel right here is saying that was our big bottom, way down here. That was our massive bottom. We got the push up here. Essentially like we had our big push, came up, got the sell-off, came down, flipped green right here. And now what's about to happen is we're about to get this jewel flip back over, and the blue's going to try to test back above the purple. Now this is a crucial point, because if the blue tests back above the purple, people are going to start getting bullish again off this move. But realistically, we could just get a rejection like that. Or we get this continuation right here and we get a big move back out of it. But I think at this point in time, it's going to be very evident if all of a sudden the market flips bullish. Because the way it looks right now, it's undeniably bearish. Look at the parabolic SAR. That's how many weeks in a row of downward movement compared to how many weeks in a row of upward movement. They're probably getting pretty close to each other on like the rivaling the length of the bull run versus the length of the consolidation. So at some point in time, people are just going to accept, hang on, this might not be the bull run that we were looking for. Little Star Wars reference there. But here we go. So we're basing back off this here, and we'll see where we go from there. This is a crucial point right here, and I think this weekend and the way we close is going to be a big deal. Also, although we're losing correlation between the S&P and traditional markets and Bitcoin and crypto right now, they're at all-time highs essentially and still pushing up, as where Bitcoin failed to make all-time highs and is essentially consolidating or selling off. So now we'll see, do we see that correlation come back as the S&P starts to potentially top out and take out the parabolic SAR on the daily, or is it going to continue to the upside, Bitcoin's going to sell off, or are they going to both continue to the upside? So we'll see what happens here. At this point in time, I think the S&P and Dow, all that good stuff, is just going to continue on for another year, based on the money we're seeing getting pumped into it, and the election coming up, and the way they want the economy to reflect on the presidential campaign, etc. And again, I'm not political in that sense. I just understand how it affects the markets and mentality. So I think the traditional markets are going to try to continue up for another year to all-time highs, and I think crypto is going to continue to consolidate and potentially sell back off before we can get like another swing up. But I think overall, crypto will be headed to all-time highs within the next, I think 2 years. So, but I don't really make predictions. I more do like short-term technical analysis because anything can happen in the meantime. I can change my mind, and I don't want people just pulling up videos from 2 years ago and saying, you said this on this day and you were bearish, but you know, the other 25 videos surrounding that one, you know, I give a more accurate representation based on time analysis. So, but anyway, that's all beside the point. I do appreciate you guys tuning in today. I hope everybody got a little bit out of this video and a better idea as to what they think Bitcoin's going to do right here. It does look like we're going to try to bust through and take out this. One other thing I notice is essentially we've been topping out at the same point, so there's clearly a sell wall right here at 81.50. You know, we had this candle come up and we tried to swing above it. That was our all-time low right now of this move. And then we also got in the same move a push up. Couldn't take it out, couldn't take it out, couldn't take it out, couldn't take it out. What happened here? Couldn't take it out. And now we're right at the 10. If we consolidate here and get another close here, you know, in 2 hours, anywhere here above, I mean, I think we're going to get a nice little move to the upside, at least to try to fight this death cross. Because, I mean, you know, death cross and stuff like that and everything is like a big flip on the market, and a lot of algos will flip from bullish to bearish or bearish to bullish on these crosses. But a lot of times right before the cross, you know, they'll basically try to defend it and essentially fake out the market, and there'll be like a huge fight for liquidity to the upside or the downside and a ton of volume coming in. So we could see a bunch of volatility coming in, a lot of excitement, good trade setups. But as far as right now, I'm still holding long, at least temporarily, looking to see where this bounce takes us to. You know, if it comes back down and tests for another time down here at the lows, you know, it's probably going to take me out of my position because I'm not just going to stick around and take an unnecessary loss if we fail again to break back above that that little sell wall that's essentially holding us down right now. So there you have it, guys. Crypto Trend Trader with your daily Bitcoin technical analysis. Appreciate all the new subscribers. Please leave me a comment. Tell me where you're from or what coins you're interested in or what markets you like to trade, etc. I'd be glad to hear from you. Or just drop in there, introduce yourself. Check out my indicators if you have any questions about them on TradingView. I'd be glad to answer those as well. TJD Diesel, Crypto Trend Trader, signing off.